Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Draft Digest. The sickest NFL draft and scouting podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Welcome back to another week. I'm Emily Van Buskirk. He is John Vogel. Welcome to the Sick Podcast, Draft Digest. Today's topic is one that doesn't get enough love. It's linemen. It's defensive linemen. Spoiler alert, it's defensive linemen.
That for the first intro that you pulled off, that was pretty darn good. I didn't even send a script yet, so I think I feel really good about going away here to annual training. And
I'm not much of a scripter, man. I kind of that's what it felt like, and that's what it is. And I feel like that's a whole lot of nonsense I just said, but yeah, I'm excited. Felt good. First intro done, off the books. I'm excited.
Bang! There we go.
What do we got?
No, so first off, we had some sad news today of recording in NFL. On the NFL side of things, Colts, Indianapolis Colts owner. Longtime owner now. He's been there. I think he's been there. Their number one. Like they were at first. They were a large group of owners, and then he bought everyone else out in the late '90s. Jim Irsay passed away in his sleep today at 65 years old. This is coming right after we just had owners meetings as well that allowed the tush push to stay in football.
Yes.
We changed the onside rules a little bit. And then I think there was another rule change that's escaping my mind, but Jim did not know him personally, watched him from afar, obviously for a long time. And he was always one of the more eccentric owners in the league. One of the guys that was really passionate about it, not just the sport, but the city that he worked in, the city that, of Indianapolis, hosting the combine there, and volunteering to do that when the combine first started. It's huge. It's going to be a huge impact that you're going to feel across the league with Jim going like that. And we're going to miss him a lot.
Yeah.
I think it was Judy Batista wrote a piece on NFL Network today, I think is what I saw. And I really enjoyed it. But she did a really good job kind of phrasing. He was the Flowers child of the NFL.
Oh, so like the Mike Leach of the NFL?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I knew that he was sick and stuff. I just didn't realize he was
well, I think he had a stroke, and I think as a lot of people have dealt with people and their loved ones having strokes. You don't really know what's going to happen. My mom had just had a stroke a year ago, and it can be okay, and then it can turn really quickly. So I think, given everything he's been through health-wise, the stroke was just kind of the beginning of the end for him. So it's awful loss across the league, an awful loss for that city. And I think I didn't know him either, but I would say there's two things that come to mind when I think of Jim Irsay. The first would be the infamous Parks and Recreation episode where he appears and Andrew Luck is there, and it's literally the funniest. I mean, he's so funny without, I think, meaning to be funny. He was so comedically just inclined as a person. And so him in that episode, that's one of my favorite episodes of Parks and Rec. It will always live in infamy. And then the Eric Dickerson trade. I mean, that's always going to be when I think of Jim Irsay, I think of those two things. So, rest in peace to him and to his family and loved ones, just sending comfort. It's just, that's a tough loss. We've had a lot of tough losses in the last couple of years, but that's a real hard one.
Yeah, and he just did that cameo on American Primeval as well on Netflix that came out this year.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that yet. I'll have to check that out.
It was a fantastic show. It's a little 6-episode miniseries. Okay. He pops in there, and I saw him, and I was like, wait a second. I think I know that guy. I think I know who that is.
Himself in the episode?
Yeah. Well, he's not playing himself. It's set in the 1890s.
Well, okay. I had no idea.
It's like
it could have been him. He could,
It's like a modern Western.
Oh, okay. Well, that tracks. Okay.
Full disclosure, it's another level of, brutal. It's grotesque at times, but full R rating, 100% on it. But it's a good show. It's a really good show.
Thank you for the disclaimer.
Yeah. I don't know. I watch stuff sometimes that it's brutal stuff sometimes. So
It's
then
good to
when I
know going in, though.
realized that, it's kind of like, hey, wait, maybe I want to put that out. Like, hey, before I recommend this show, hey, don't turn this on when like the kids are around. That kind of
I'll
thing.
watch it before bed, or like,
Preferably not. You might not be able to sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to get into defensive line today. Next week we'll get into the quarterbacks and stuff. We'll have one of my favorite people to talk quarterbacks with coming on. That's Luke McCown. He was on the show a couple of years ago discussing Michael Penix Jr. and that class of quarterbacks before the college football season was even over.
Wow.
I think we had that episode in October of that year, and he was phenomenal.
Does he watch a lot of college football? Like if I asked him about guys in this year, he would have opinions about it?
He would have for some of them, yes.
Okay.
He will have for some of them, absolutely.
Okay.
Because he watches a lot of football still.
Nice.
His sons and his nephews are all quarterbacks as well for the most part. So, because his nephew's playing at he was at UTSA this past year.
Oh, okay.
So, obviously his brother Josh McCown, longtime quarterback in the league as well. So, they're a quarterback family, and they live and breathe this stuff. So
I look forward to talking to him. That'll be fun.
The defensive line is kind of where you start, I think, when you look at the defense, right? And the reason that I kind of say that is because in the last 20 years of NFL drafts, there have been 3 positions that have gone number 1 overall. That's the quarterback, that's the offensive tackle, and that's the defensive end.
Okay.
So the reason, obviously, for that is the fact that the defensive line is the most directly impactful position on the opposing quarterback. And then the offensive tackle is the position that protects the quarterback. So the most directly impacting the quarterback on offense. So that's why those 3 positions are typically the ones that go first overall. I think the last time we had one that was outside of that was in 96 when Keyshawn Johnson, I believe, was a wide receiver that was taken. So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I was born in 96, not to age anybody here. So, the fact of the matter is that I've never been alive to see one of those 3 positions not get drafted in first overall in the draft. So when you kind of break down the defensive line there, I want to start kind of with the overall position, understanding kind of what you're looking for. Your edge rusher, we're going to go with a defensive end as opposed to an outside linebacker in a 3-4. So, a 5 tech, a guy that can slide into the 3, can go 7 wide, 9, all those on the outside. That's where I kind of want to start. This is a position that's really developed over the last 15 years. One of the things that I like to do is I like to go look at historical data for sizes, testing, kind of see where the trends are going. And
where do you find databases like that?
There's a couple of websites. There's
really?
There's one, the NFL Combine Results. I think is what it's called, NFLCombineResults.com. And that's all it is combine results.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, okay. It goes back. Now it also goes back into like before the combine was as big as it was and was in Indianapolis. So it's got results that go back into the 80s, the late 80s. That data is not nearly as important anymore, unfortunately, just because the game has changed so much. Yeah. But one of the things that I when I was doing this research last offseason and kind of looking at the trends that I'd noticed is how drastically different the defensive line has become just in the last 15 years. When Myles Garrett came out, we had never seen a defensive end at 265 pounds run a sub 4.640. This year we had 3 of them do it.
Yeah.
So that's the direction that the defensive end position is going. You want to have size. So 260 is really probably about where people want you to be weight-wise. You want to have speed, specifically in that first 10 yards. The 10-yard split is really important. As long as it's under 165, you're in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the long speed as well, just the the explosion, those types of traits. Those are the things that you're kind of looking for to start off in that. So how do you kind of see that on the field? That's a good question.
Asked and answered over here.
Well, it's because, you know, I could sit here and say, yeah, here's the data, but we're not going to get this data until next February for this upcoming class, right?
Right.
So how do you kind of translate what you see on the field to that data? Obviously, it's not going to be a perfect science, right? Some of the things that kind of show you is, first off, that first step when they come off the line of scrimmage. How sudden are they? How explosive are they? When they take that first step and they start to move into their second and they engage with the offensive lineman, what kind of power does he have? Is he commanding that rep? Is he starting to move that offensive lineman where he wants him to? Where's his leverage? But that first step tells you a lot about a player. As soon as he comes off the line of scrimmage, how sudden is he? How explosive is he? You want to see someone who's got a wicked first step? Go watch TJ Watt. That guy is unbelievable with his first step. Now, he's also more of an outside linebacker. He can line up. He can play the defensive end, but he's more of an outside line. But for first step, you want to see an elite first step. That's where you go. Max Crosby is another great one.
Yeah.
That guy is a freak in nature.
Yeah.
100% motor at all times. As soon as he starts moving, he's at 100%. So he's one of these freaky guys as well. The next thing that it kind of tells you is, all right, so one of the things you see in college a lot now is the read option, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got, you know, a free defender on the outside that you're going to leave unblocked to try to react to how he moves, right? Is he going to come dive inside, try to take the inside runaway? Is he going to sit and wait on the quarterback to run? So with that, you can see a lot about a guy and his ability in the short distance, short burst area quickness. Those types of reps will tell you a lot. How quickly does he chase down that backside? How quickly does he get there? Can you leave him unblocked? There are certain guys you cannot leave unblocked in those situations. There were a couple guys this year, and I'm trying to remember. I think Abdul Carter was absolutely one of them.
Yeah.
You could not leave that guy unblocked. You could not make him the read defender because he would blow the whole thing up.
He's scary. He's a bad man.
Yeah, I know for him for a fact. You didn't see Shamar Turner in that as much. James Pierce not as much. But when you see these opportunities and you kind of see, all right, so they go with the run or it's an outside zone or whatever, and they're chasing it from the backside unblocked, that tells you right there, can they move from 10 yards? Because they're going to run 10 yards across that line of scrimmage chasing that play. And a lot of times they're going to do it at full speed. So that's a huge indicator right there for those types of measurables and data that you can get from tape. The most important aspect of defense, too, in my opinion, is the one that gets kind of forgotten about all the time, and that's tackling. I know that sounds funny. I know that sounds simple. But we sit here and we talk all the time about this guy's got freaky bend. Oh, look at the way that he moves. Josh Uche was a perfect example of this a few years ago. I fell victim to it in the first time that I went down to the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
He showed elite level bend working around. So when I say bend, I mean getting down low to the ground, getting under the blocker, usually doing it at full speed and turning the corner at the same time. So bending under. Mm-hmm. You see some guys, Myles Garrett's got it, Crosby's got it, Watt's got it, all the top edge rushers have it. They've got this elite level bend, but you see how low they get to the ground, that to the point that they're almost, in perpendicular lines with the ground, very nearly closely to it when they're getting down across. So that's the kind of bend that you're looking for. You're also looking for it at them to kind of bend more at their knees than they are with their waist.
Their waist, yeah.
Because if you're dipping with your waist, you're losing a lot of power as an athlete. If you're bending with your knees, you're maintaining it and you're loading yourself up to have explosive power that comes off of that as soon as you start to really get into it. and release
You're
that
taking
tension.
years and years off of your career and your life. But, whatever's close.
Well, we got
What do you
these
need?
ACL surgeries now, Emily. I mean, Adrian Peterson, he gets his 2 knees done and he runs for 2,000 yards. I'm just saying. So
what is going to happen, speaking of that, when we do have bionic joints and things come into play where that's like the way, I know this is a totally random sidebar, but when we start replacing limbs and joints and things with bionic stuff, like how much of cheating is that if you're like part robot? Have you ever thought about that?
I haven't thought about that. That's not an area I've gone yet.
I lay awake at night thinking about that because, like, really, at some point, and we'll probably not be alive during that point, but there will be a time when people are made of machines to a degree, and how's that going to affect competitive sports? I think about it a lot.
It's going to depend on the brand that you're using to install.
How are you going to regulate it? It's like everything that we're dealing with now in college with NIL and all this stuff. It's like how can you regulate it? It's just going to be wild for a while.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah,
that's not even an area I've gone, because that's interesting because there is a whole study that's been done on guys in ACL surgeries, specifically in football.
Like what they've gotten put in and
so typically what happens is when you pop one, you tear one, you get it repaired.
Right.
That knee, the new what's the word I'm looking for?
Ligament?
Technology. It's technology. Scientific technology. Is that, and this is what Adrian Peterson did. He was one of the first prominent athletes to get this done. Is they put a bolt through your knee.
Oh boy.
And they wrap your ligaments back around it so that when you start to, rebuild that muscle, it uses the bolt as part of the tissue, essentially. So it makes it stronger.
Stronger, but how is that really I don't know that that's more beneficial. I don't know. That sounds, I don't know.
Well, the study shows, believe it or not, that typically when you do that with one knee, you're gonna pop your other knee.
Jesus.
The reason
he knew that going in, and he was just like, "That's fine."
Well, here's what it is: is you're putting a lot that knee is now weaker than the one that's been repaired, right?
Well, yeah.
So now it's not going to be able to handle the same stress that this other knee is, so you're going to pop it at some point. As soon as you pop it, you get it the surgery done in the other one,
right? And now you're bionic, and okay.
No, nobody's torn one of these yet.
Oh, so nobody has 2 of them yet. I wonder who's going to be. So
no one has retorn one of the repaired ones.
But
like they pop their other knee. Like Michael Penix is one of these guys. He's popped both of his knees.
Really?
Yeah, and he doesn't have the bolt.
He doesn't have the bolt in him.
No, he does in both of them.
What?
Yep. So that was one of the reasons that they were able to justify taking him, 8th overall last year, is because he's got 2 surgically repaired knees.
Yeah, he's bionic. Okay,
so he's probably not going to pop them.
Interesting.
Yeah,
this is what I'm saying. That's it. You're playing on a different plane at that level. Like that's what? That's not.
I do wonder, because you bring this up, if at some point you're going to see people start
just
doing this surgery before they pop the knees, and just do them straight up, and that would be interesting. That's not something I considered, but that's absolutely in the realm of possibility.
I think of linemen when I think of these knee kind of injuries, because the amount of, like you said, there. But it is true, we're seeing kind of a more svelte, I guess, kind of guy, faster. You think of traditional defensive linemen just like super heavy. Like guys are not like that anymore. It's not putting as much pressure on their body, but they're still doing more than most. And I always think about like what that feels like later in life. And my heart, some of these guys, but
some of them, some of them,
especially the violent guys, the guys that are super violent,
like Junior Seau is a perfect example, right? Rest in peace to Junior.
Yes.
But he dealt with a lot of pain after he got done playing. So that is a good point that you bring up. What's interesting with the historical trends on defensive line is we have gotten bigger and we've gotten more athletic somehow.
Mm-hmm. Well, the strength training's better. Like you see that a lot in college. Strength training, the money that goes into nutrition goes into the strength training departments. That the science of it, that's all way bigger than, you know, when I was in college playing Division I sports and they just threw us in this old weight room with like metal rods and they were like, okay, good luck. They don't do that now. Like now they're well taken care of and they're shown how to do it before they get to the next level, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot more information in regards to what you could do from a training routine, what you can do from nutrition.
Yeah.
So that's developed a lot more.
Yeah. It's true.
But the point that I want to make with it is one of the most fearsome defensive end outside linebacker guys in NFL history was Leonard Taylor.
Okay.
Leonard Taylor, when he played for the Giants, was 6'3", 235 pounds. So when you move Leonard Taylor and you compare him against the edge rushers of today, we wouldn't know what to do with him.
Yeah.
He would be in that tweener stage where it's like, can he play Mike linebacker? Well, I don't think he can cover. He's freaking phenomenal off the edge, but you know, is he going to be powerful enough to hold up against a 320-pound offensive lineman?
Yeah.
So that's the direction we've taken. Is defensive linemen have gotten a lot bigger. Even here's what's funny when you get into the interior stuff. You know how big Mean Joe Green was?
No.
He was 6 foot 270.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Think about that for a second. What would we do with a 6 foot 270-pound guy? Unless he is an absolute freak of nature like Aaron Donald, who was 285.
Yeah.
We can't use him. Can't use him in this modern NFL.
Wow. That's
so
crazy.
That's the point that I want to make with the historical data. Now, the athletic testing gets better every year, across the positional as a whole. But right now, what you're kind of looking at is, give me a second. The typical range is 6'3", 265 for defensive ends.
Yeah.
The average is about a 4'7", 540.
Jeez.
The average vertical is 34 inches. You know, so the average bench press is 23 reps of 225. So you got it takes a special type of athlete to be able to play off the edge in this modern NFL. And that's kind of the point that I wanted to make. Is that the defensive end position has evolved tremendously to that point. Now, I also wrote an article last week about how to scout nose tackles. I want to clarify nose tackles and kind of get into a little bit of what I didn't get into in the article. Because you have, with your interior guys, you've got defensive tackles and you've got nose tackles, right? Your defensive tackle is a little bit more athletic. He's a little bit smaller. And when I say a little bit smaller, I mean like 6'3", 310.
Yes,
okay? You know, so
smaller, like relative.
Yeah, exactly. He's a little bit smaller. He's
Right.
a little bit smaller than, you know, the nose tackle, who's typically closer to 6'4" and 315, 320. The difference is where you're going to line them up and where they're going to play primarily on the defensive line. So defensive tackle, you're more of a 3-tech guy, a guy that lines up in between the guard and the tackle. And what you ultimately want to do as a 3-tech is try to bring that tackle in to block you on top of that guard. So that's the typical role of a defensive tackle, is a gap shooter. You want to get upfield quickly and infiltrate that. It's a B gap for football obsessed people like myself. and then you've got the nose tackle is a little bit more of your 1 or 0 tech. You're either going to line up in between the guard and the center, or you're going to line up head up on the center. And centers, not to get into a whole offensive line tangent, because that's for another episode.
That's a different episode.
Centers are typically the smallest, you know, guy on the offensive line.
Right.
They're lighter. Their arms are usually a little bit shorter. And that's interesting because what we found is that typically their snap is a little bit faster if their arms are shorter. So you see a lot more 31-inch players with, that typical cutoff that you hear people talk about is 32 inches. You see a lot more 31-inch arm centers than you do any other position on the line. But that's why, because you want to get that snapback faster. So they're a little bit smaller. You have a little bit more leverage opportunity there. Most of the time, there are exceptions. And you want to bring power and then try to force that guard to also block you. And that opens up a one-on-one opportunity on the outside for your edge rusher against that tackle. So it's one of my pet peeves is when I see guys like Dan Roboski that have played in the league, that have played football, sit there and talk about why is Myles Garrett matched up one-on-one with a tight end? This is why. Because if I've got two interior defensive linemen that demand, that force you to double team them, there's only 5 offensive linemen, and there's 4 guys right there on the defensive line coming after my quarterback. I would much rather deal with that guy off the edge than I would deal with the guy coming straight off the middle, blowing up my pocket. So that's the difference really between a nose tackle and a defensive tackle, is that the nose is a guy that he wants to play with a lot more power, really dictate the tempo and the pace from the interior, from the center. And, they're typically a good bit bigger, but you can go check out that article. Anybody listening, on the nose tackle position, it's on my Twitter. It's on draftvogel.com. And it goes into all the data that I pull, to show you exactly how I come to these conclusions with what the average testing and the average size is, how to scout them, going bit by bit, like into, strength and power. How well do they, draw blockers and contain those blockers? How do you assess their hand usage and all those different things that come with that?
So I guess
top 10 nose tackles in the league. Sorry.
I was going to ask. That's kind of what I was going to ask you is that's a lot of information to process. So I will definitely check that article out. But as far as, talking about the defensive lineman from the draft, specifically interior, if you prefer, what were a few of your favorite draft picks for teams? I mean, did you have a couple guys that you were like, oh, that's a good pickup for that team, or guys that you were surprised went higher than they did, or maybe were, I don't know, any specific guys?
Yeah. I mean,
I know we've talked a little bit about it, but
one of my favorite guys in this class was Kenneth Grant out of Michigan.
Okay.
Because he kind of had that Jordan Davis, shtick to him, where he was just the really big, freakish, athletic guy. Derek Harmon is another really good one. I was going to
ask you about him. That's my favorite.
Perfect fit.
Yeah.
Perfect fit. Yeah. Going to Pittsburgh. I mean,
his football IQ, I think, is kind of the best.
Yeah. That's what I heard nothing but good things about. And that's one of the underrated aspects of the defensive line, is when you've got a guy that really understands football. Yeah. That really helps you take that to the next level. But Cam Hayward's not getting any younger on that team.
Yeah.
And you got a guy that can play beside Hayward right for now in that sort of nose tackle group. And when Hayward eventually moves on here in 2 or 3 years, you just slide him right on over and you're good. I mean, you're locked and loaded. Perfect pick for them.
That's funny. I was gonna say that, and that's funny that I feel like I got one right.
And then not drafted. He was a high priority free agent that ended up in Tampa. He's an interesting guy to watch, because he's unprecedented. That's Desmond Watson out of Florida. And this guy, he wasn't very productive at Florida. Ended up more in a rotational role. And the reason for that is because he's almost 6'6".
Yes.
And when he went to the Tropical Bowl, I went to the Tropical Bowl a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And during the weigh-ins, Jerry Hardaway comes up to me who is one of the scouts that helps run that thing, and says, "Hey, we need some help with the measurements. Can you help with that?" I was like, "Sure. I'm nervous now. What do you need me to do?" Because I've never done measurements before in my life.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, just have them stand on this scale. There's a little American flag that was taped to the wall." He goes, "Tell them to look at the American flag and then get their weight when they step on the scale."
Why does it matter
The
if they
scale,
look? Why does it matter
well,
if they
because you want them to be standing
like
straight and
even?
tall. Yeah, even all
Wait,
that.
I need to try that at my weight loss doctor. I didn't know that. What?
Yeah, don't slouch. Don't
Well,
slouch.
I just feel
Stand
like
up
I
tall,
slouched, but I
straight,
never
even.
thought about staring at a point in the wall. Man, I gotta try
Yeah.
that trick. Okay.
So,
Good
anyways, this scale probably maxes out at 350.
As most, I think the standard for scales like that is 350 or 400. It's definitely not over 4. So I know
Well,
where this is going.
Desmond did not weigh in at the Tropical Bowl,
Right.
probably for very good reason. We estimate he's at about 435.
I thought he was at 460 at one point.
He was at one point. I'll
That's
pull up the spring workout. Give me a second.
No, you're fine. It's funny because when I saw that he went or did get picked up by the Bugs, they've been having a field day with his stature in the headlines.
Oh no, you're right. Holy, I knew he got down to 425 during the season.
No, I'm pretty sure
he
it's
weighed in
460.
at the Florida Pro Day at 464.
Yeah, I think he got down easy.
It says
Last I heard
it says the APT system only goes to 450 pounds.
Right.
So he's totally unprecedented. That's the whole point that I'm trying to make here.
No, I think
we have no idea what this is going to do. We have no idea if he's going to make the team. If he makes the team, is he gonna play?
They won't keep him at that weight. I have to imagine that when he gets in there, that they'll have him on some sort of training. So, I mean, that just can't.
That's the thing is, what do you bring him down to?
Well, I mean, that can't be healthy.
Who says he's not?
I don't know. You're right. I don't know.
I mean, you see him moving on tape, and he can move. That's
I know. I'm not saying
even at 420.
No disrespect to the gentleman. He looks fine. It's nothing about that. It's more like how much like pressure that's got to be putting, like we talked about, on your joints, on your organs, on whatever. I just imagine, I mean, if that's where he's meant to be, then God bless him and that's where he'll stay, and that's amazing. But I'm sure that they'll figure it out. They have biometrics tests, in-body stuff, and they'll figure out what he's supposed to be at. And if they can get him there, then I don't see why he wouldn't get a shot.
Yeah, I had in my notes that I actually dropped an F word in my notes when I was describing him. So like I was like, this guy.
Yeah. Well, people are having like writers. This is like writers' gold because they're like, yeah, larger than life, like all these big jokes.
Legitimately,
it's there. Yeah, like, you love that when you're covering a local team and you get a guy that you can play wordplay with. So, but no, he
shows some technical ability to win off the line of scrimmage. With his hands, he understands how to use his leverage. He moves surprisingly well for being as big as he is.
Yeah,
because you kind of expect a guy like that to just kind of stand there, maybe just bull rush. He's nimble.
He is. It's kind of crazy. That's funny that you brought that up. I wouldn't. That's funny. Yeah,
he's so unprecedented. We have no idea what he's going to do. So I'd be interested to see what he does for that reason alone. And then if we ever come across another 450-pound dude ever again, then we kind of have an idea how that's going to go. I don't know of any personally in college football right now.
I know. I think the most right now is like, I don't know. I thought like last I saw was like 350 maybe.
I tell you.
Oh, you have that in a statistical database as well?
I have. You have no idea how many statistical data. Actually, no, we do have a guy at 455.
Really?
Yeah, but he's a guard, and it looks like he went in the transfer portal from TCU. This is Breon Ramsey Brooks. 6'4.5", 455.
6'4", 455. It's different than 6'6" in the sense that
unless that's a typo. That might be a typo.
that's gonna look different. That's interesting.
If it's not a typo, then we got a 300. I mean, if it is a typo, then there's a 396-pound guy at North Texas playing guard.
No way, North Texas.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check
Keon
that out.
Johnson.
Keon Johnson.
6'3" and a half, 396. Actually, ironically, played high school football in Akron.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that guy from Florida because they have a guy behind him or that's still there that's supposed to be a guy to watch this year. I think Caleb Banks is his name.
Yeah. Caleb Banks is phenomenal.
Florida's just churning him out, I guess. Then
and Tyreek Sapp off the edge is phenomenal.
Yeah, they're gonna be fun to watch. I know they haven't been, and defense isn't really like sexy in that regard, but I actually am intrigued to see what happens there in the swamp this year.
That's not a typo on that 455, by the way.
No way.
I just had to go verify it.
Wait, Google image that guy, though. What does he look like? What's his name?
Oh, he's big. Breon Ramsey Brooks.
Ramsey Brooks. I need to see this.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, I have heard of this guy actually. Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. If I can I might have to send this to the producers. Hey, pull this thing up. This image.
He went to oh my god. He's a big guy. But see, that's not what the other guy you were talking about looks like. It's a very different.
No. Like Desmond Watson, he's actually
he carries it.
I mean, you can see he's big. Like he's got a big old bear belly. But like
I need to see a tape like film.
This guy. I hope the producers back here are looking this up. I'll put his name in the chat. Make sure you find it. This is unbelievable. Send it. We'll put it. Okay.
But everyone that's listening to this, you should also Google this yourself because it's worth a Google. I kind of am like invested in where is he? But he left TCU. So where's he going to go?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out where he is now.
He has. Let me see. Oh yeah, he's from Dallas. Well, it says he's in Dallas. I wonder where he's from.
It says he's from.
He looks like a cool guy. Like he looks like he's. I'm looking at a picture of him in street clothes, and he actually has some drip, as the kids say. Okay, that's impressive. That's crazy. Good for him.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm gonna have to like follow up on this guy. It looks like he was first team All-State in high school. But it's crazy to look at that picture of him in high school. And I recommend you do this. Look at the picture of him in high school and then look at the picture of him.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. That guy.
Yeah.
Wow. Like that's the dude that comes off the bus and you're like, please don't pull this guy. Please don't pull toward me.
So we may be having another situation. You were just saying we didn't know if we'd have it again.
Yeah, it looks like maybe he is not playing football anymore.
I don't know.
Because I don't see
2020 last year
yeah. The last time he was listed on a roster was at TCU in 2023.
You gotta look him up on social media because that's really
that's what I'm looking at right now too.
Oh, on his Instagram or Twitter?
Twitter.
Okay. I'm gonna look at his Instagram because I feel like you can't just disappear like that. I remember this because it was like national news when they released those pictures of him in video. I remember now in my brain, I was like, oh my God, I remember it being a headline. But I hadn't thought about it again. So
it looks like maybe he went to JUCO route.
Yeah.
Because Trinity Valley is coming up. I'm trying to see what year this is though. Because some of these JUCO websites are terrible.
6'5". They have him 6'5", 455, and they call him Big Bubba. That was his nickname.
They got him listed at 415 on Trinity Valley, if that's where he is.
Okay.
If that's where he is. I can't get a year to know. See if I look at his TCU, maybe.
That's crazy.
Okay, so that's his freshman. Yeah, okay, so he ended up going JUCO. He went to Trinity Valley.
Okay. Which means that he may be back. He may,
He can go back. Those are free years now.
Yeah.
Those are free years in college football.
So we have to keep an eye on him. Anyways.
Thank you, Diego Pavia. Couldn't help myself on that one.
That's fine. I'll let it slide.
I think that's about all I got on this episode, though. You got anything else that you want to?
No, I think we have to end with Big Bubba. That's it. I mean, what else can you? That's the end.
Bubba Ramsey Brooks.
Come
back. It'll be interesting. Yeah, we need to see you back in D1.
Should we have him on the show? I think probably.
If we can get him, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
I'll work on
because we need to talk about Desmond,
and
then we need to basically say, so Desmond was the guinea pig for defense. Now you get to be the guinea pig for offense, so we can see if this works. We need to see this.
Yeah, we do.
But he might be down to 415. That's what they got him listed on.
But
Trinity
that's
Valley.
still. I feel like if you're over 4, that's still in the category. Like, how many have there been? That have successfully played. I guess we'll have to see how the season goes. We're gonna watch it and then we're gonna see. Yeah.
I can't think of. I think the most I've seen a guy weigh in the NFL was when Jordan Matalia got there to Philadelphia. Came over from Australia. I think he was 380.
Heaviest,
but he's trimmed down to 360.
Yeah. Well, it's funny if you try and Google that now. Obviously, it's Desmond Watson. So
yeah,
we would have had to have done it before that. Okay, so it says 5 heaviest players are going to be Trent Brown, 380.
That was a big dude. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Trent Brown was big.
Daniel Faalele.
Yep.
379.
Yep. Baltimore, he's starting right tackle now.
Caleb Jones, 370.
Mm-hmm.
And then your guy, Jordan, 365. Mekhi Becton, 363. Not.
And then Becton ended up moving to right guard. And saved his career.
But then you've got guys that were in, I guess this is current. Those may have been, these are current. There's Aaron Gibson. He was an offensive tackle, first-round pick in the NFL draft for the Lions, later signed with the Cowboys.
What year?
410. Unclear. Not all of them give years. I don't know how.
I don't remember him at all.
You mean
that might have been a while ago, but even if that was a while ago, I mean, 410 back then was like.
That's why I don't think there's been many over 4, so we'll have to fact check that. You know what? Next episode, I will come back with a clean list of this because I don't want to Google on air, but I will be back with that next episode. So
fantastic.
You can count on it.
Well, that should do it for Draft Digest this week.
We'll see you next week for some quarterback talk. Ooh.
And that list. So I'm interested now. I'm interested. I might get Grok on that as soon as we get done here.
I'm Emily Van Buskirk. He's John Vogel. This has been the Sick Podcast Draft Digest. We'll see you next week.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Draft Digest on YouTube, X, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.